shown. The red light is about to be turned on for 15 minutes of racing in the Protech Shock Sports Specials Championship, and it gets underway now. And a pretty good even start by both of them on the front row. Paul Collingwood and Andy Hiley. A good start too by Austin Greenway and the number 41 Elite Pulse. That was a retirement from the first race, and that's trying to go around the outside of the Eclipse of Paul Boyd as they head into the first corner. But it's Hiley from Collingwood, and then the Elite Pulse trying to get alongside Boyd again as they go through the right-hand hairpin at Wilson that time. But we've got an exciting race in prospect here. I don't think the Class B Championship has quite yet been sorted.
However, Steve Wells' car was slow, so I think that's Warren Vesey pretty much won the championship. Now, Warren Vesey almost ran in the back of Steve Wells off the line because of the issues for Wells. But the battle for second in this race between the Eclipses is pretty tight there into the Agostini corner, but Paul Collingwood is hanging on there ahead. I think for now, but they head off. And Martin Gambling from the back is absolutely flying again. He passed so many cars at the start of this race. You can just see them, they're slotting past 2 or 3 more into the Hamilton corner. And then they make their way down towards Oggies. But up front, it's Hiley from Collingwood, from Boyd, from Greenway, from Hudson. 5 for the lead. Yeah, Gambling got up to 6th from the back in race 1. Let's see what he can do in this second race of the weekend. There's Nigel Brown, number 10. He's doing battle with the number 77 car, which is Brad Snow in the Silver Phoenix. Warren Vesey, our Class B champion-elect, is also involved in that battle as well. And there we can see 41, that's the Elite Pulse of Austin Greenway. It was a car that held the lap records at a number of circuits in the hands of Eddie Ives, took several wins a few years ago. Now the boss of the elite team that races primarily in Ginetta racing. Based just literally down the road. Very literally down the road. We could almost, throw a stone and catch the workshop, I think, from here. And 13 minutes of the race left to go. Coming up towards the end of the first lap then. Andy Hiley looking in good form again here, Josh, getting away a little bit from Paul Collingwood. And then it's the 17 car, I should say, of Paul Boyd in 3rd position. Then it's the Elite Pulse in 4th of Austin Greenway, and Clive Hood in 5th. So the first 5 have gone away a little bit from the rest. Stuart Thompson is the best of the rest in 6th position, car number 30. In the earlier race, Paul Boyd ended up with the pace of the leader there, Steve Wells. We thought his championship looked to be over off the line. Indeed, it is. So Warren Vesey, therefore, the Class B champion, it would seem, after just taken a single win over the season, but he's been really consistent, finished every race up to now anyway. And Steve Wells also didn't do all of the races this season, and the other driver that won, I think, 4 races this year, Brendan Dudley, he only did about half of the meetings as well. So there's a big spin out of shot coming out of Palmer. The card shot right across the circuit. And a spin for Clive Hudson as well, number 15 up at Agostini. So he quickly gets to work on the wheel and gets the car back into the race. So a few dramas there. I'm not sure where the car ended up that went off at Palmer. It's gone completely out of my sight. Oh, there it is, just rejoin it. It was one of the MEBs that ended up, I think, spun at Palmer, almost ended up at Oggies. Yeah, yellow flags have gone in, so that's all been sorted out. I reckon it might have been Brian Chandler, because they were battling, he and Stuart Much. Much is still there. It was he and Darren Griffin, I think, that were battling, wasn't it, over the line in another of the MEVs. So that's the 7th car of Stuart Much. He's just ahead of Martin Gambling. Now, they were 10th and 11th at the start of the lap. Steve Wells, by the way, into the pit lane out of the race. What a disappointing end to the season for the man from the Isle of Wight. So that's Chandler. So it's Chandler that's still circulating. He's got Clive Hudson behind him now after Clive Hudson's spin, and that's Stuart Much, isn't it? So it's the one that went missing Darren Griffin, therefore, possibly. Might well be. We'll check at the end of that. There's Gambling, though. He's getting himself towards the top 10 now. So it's been good for him. Shame he didn't start at the front, really, because he could have made it an extra car, I suspect, in the lead battle that is herring up across the line again, with Hiley having a bigger lead this time, I think, over Collingwood and Boyd. Paul Collingwood seems to be going a bit better than the earlier race, although he started well in race 1 and faded. Carries lots of speed there through Ritchie, and Austin Greenway and Stuart Thompson complete the top 5. And yeah, indeed, it's
Darren Griffin that's not coming through. So he had the big spin at Palmer, but luckily he didn't hit anything. That's what was a fearful moment, I think, for could have been, but it's all fine. He continues, but much further down. There's Paul Boyd then in 3rd position. It's good to have all these eclipses back because at the beginning of the season there weren't many of them, but with Paul Boyd returning and Clive Hudson as well, there's lots of them out again.
Yeah, which is really good to see. There's the Austin Greenway Elite Pulse.
Looks like
in 4th place.
Better we've seen him go in that car, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not falling that far away from the leaders at all.
No, that's good to see. So you've got the Kronos of Hiley, then you've got these eclipses. There's Paul Collingwood, number 11. You can see he's developed the aero a little bit on that compared to the other eclipses of Paul Boyd and Clive Hudson, who originated those cars. And there you can see Paul Boyd going through. Here we have the view down the Bentley Straight. Andy Hiley in the lead. Paul Collingwood 2nd, Paul Boyd 3rd, and 4th is Austin Greenway. That's a rather smoky looking car there. Just trying to work out which one that is. Making its way through Hamilton in any case. And it's being caught and passed by one of its rivals, I think. I can see. There's Clive Hudson, so he's in 7th place. Gambling there in 9th in the other of the eclipses. Colin Charles, number 13, in the Sienna, the red Sienna.
Might have been Alan Robinson, the smoky car.
Could have been. And 27 there is Andrew Hayward in 12th position. And behind him is Warren Vesey, then, who's going to be the man that's going to wrap up the Class B Championship, we think.
Andrew Hayward, what you're seeing there, is the Class B leader, because Adam Cottrell's not been such a good time as he did earlier in the Caterham.
No, down in 14th position. There is a new 2nd place man. Paul Boyd has got ahead of Paul Collingwood on the way up to Rich's corner. So they were side by side over the line, Collingwood and Boyd. And on the run up to Rich's, Paul Boyd's got the move done. But can Collingwood come back to him? No, I don't think he can there.
Andy Hiley's just broken his own lap record from earlier today, a 2:03.7, which is some way quicker than what he was doing here last year. About half a second or so.
86.41 miles an hour that equates to, just to give you an idea of the average speed around this 3-mile Snetterton circuit.
Looks like Adam Cottrell has now got himself back ahead of Andrew Hayward for the Class B lead, and then Warren Vesey is 3rd.
Yes, that's right. And Andrew Grant again has a 10-second penalty being added to his time, which I think he should have had at the start of the race, but that was an out-of-position start again, as it were. So there's Boyd up to 2nd place. He's sort of 2.2 seconds or so behind Andy Hiley. He's got his work cut out to try and catch Hiley in the Kronos here, hasn't he, I think? But Boyd's a very rapid driver in his own right.
Yeah, he caught in the earlier race from a little way back, didn't he? So Hiley seems to do a really quick lap, or he did in the earlier race, and he sort of backed off and allowed Boyd to catch. So maybe he won't make the same do the same thing again, because he knows what the pace that Paul Boyd potentially has in that car. Austin Greenway now has fallen a bit further back. Quick at the start, but can't quite keep that pace up. Then Clive Hudson's now 5th, so he's got himself ahead of Stuart Thompson. Then Brian Chandler leading the Class C field in 7th place, and behind him is Martin Gambling, the driver coming from the back of the grid. Earlier he finished 6th. There's not really any reason why that can't happen again, because he's quicker than these 2 cars in front.
Paul Collingwood then down to 3rd position in the number 11 car. Behind Paul Boyd as they come through to complete lap number 4, with Hiley improving his lap time again at 2:03.15 that time through. So he's got the bit between his teeth. He's pushing on in this race, and his lead now 3.17 seconds.
Paul Boyd is going quicker than he's ever gone before around this track, 2:04.1, but unfortunately for him, that's some way slower than what the leaders going, with Andy Hiley going quicker than he's ever been before around here.
Yeah, that's the thing, the pace just keeps on improving, doesn't it, in the Protech Shock Sports Specials Championship. And there's Collingwood still chasing after Boyd. He's not really letting Boyd get away too much at this stage. As Warren Vesey, you can see out of our window, he's being passed by, I think, Andrew Hayward in the Class B battle.
Yeah, he had got ahead and he's fallen behind again, so that's a good battle of a 2nd in Class B, with Andrew Grant joining them in the Caterham.
I think Grant will go past them. Well, no, yeah, possibly it's a little bit quicker, but not hugely.
Meanwhile, Martin Gambling's gone down the inside of Brian Chandler at Agostini to gain a place. There's problems there a bit further back.
That's the number 72 car. David Barrow's MK Indy is heading for the pit lane, I'm afraid, out of the race. And we've had a few retire already from this one, including Steve Wells, of course.
Warren Vessey's got second back, going down towards Agostini. That might be a battle to pick up if that's possible for the second in Class B. Well, very close. But the two Eclipses are closer to one another again because Paul Collingwood going after Paul Boyd, it seems.
Austin Greenway not able to stay with them, though. He's dropping back, and last time through, Clive Hudson was nearly a second faster than Austin Greenway, but about 6 seconds behind him, so it'd be a tall order for Clive Hudson to try and close the gap to Austin Greenway in the remaining 5 minutes of this race. There's Stuart Thompson in the number 30 car, but he's now being put under pressure by Martin Gambling. So Gambling already got ahead of Brian Chandler on this lap. He might well get ahead of Stuart Thompson as well before very much longer, and up into the top 6 once again, as he did from the back of the grid in race 1 in that Eclipse. So he's had perhaps not the results he would have liked. He'd have liked to have been battling up there at the front, but I should imagine he's had quite a lot of fun, Martin Gambling, fighting his way through the order.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm at the cockpit for Gambling. Not quite sure what that was all about. Turning his way down to Murray. Thought it was quite a busy part of the track to have two hands on the wheel, but he had time to do something with his arm. But he's challenging Stuart Thompson now. He goes up the left-hand side of the racetrack, and he should pass him into Ritchie, and does. So he's back to 6th, like he was in the earlier race. Only 4. Oh, he's gone off. He's gone wide, and they both pass him. Chandler has to get on the grass to avoid the car there of Gambling rejoining. So after all that hard work, he's got to do it again.
Yeah, back down to 8th place he goes, and so he's got to get past Chandler, the former MX5 champion. He's not going to make it easy for Martin Gambling, I'm sure, in that Mav MX150R with its spit of flame coming out of the rear of the car there. And ahead of him, Stuart Thompson in the MK Indy ex-championship winning car when it was in the hands of Matthew Booth.
Andrew Grant has got past both Andrew Hayward and Warren Vessey now, by the way, in Class B.
Right, Gambling's got back to 7th. He's gone up the inside of Brian Chandler into the Agostini that time.
So try again to get past Stuart Thompson. Got a little bit to catch him first. Lead gap is 3 seconds between Andy Hiley and Paul Boyd. See how that goes over the last couple of laps of this race. There's Austin Greenway in 4th. Clive Hudson in 5th position, going quicker than him, but I don't think he'll catch. And then the battle for 6th with Stuart Thompson in front. You couldn't see Martin Gambling's car there for a moment, but he is there. And he's there in 7th place with Brian Chandler through next in 8th. There go the Eclipses 2nd and 3rd. And I think they're falling away from Andy Hiley on this particular lap, because Hiley just missed out on matching his best lap, and he's now 4.44 seconds ahead.
Yeah, he taken another 1.2 seconds out of Boyd and Collingwood that time. He did very similar lap times, both in 2:04.3 bracket.
We should get 8 laps out of this race, shouldn't we?
Yeah, there's Hiley on his 7th lap, then leading the race in the number 53 Kronos, just turning his way through Palmer. And there is Boyd in 2nd place. Collingwood in 3rd place has dropped back a little bit in this first sort of third of the lap behind Paul Boyd. He was the second behind exactly at the start of the lap, but it's perhaps nudging up towards 2 seconds now as they make their way into Agostini. So I don't think Paul Collingwood's going to be able to do anything about Paul Boyd in the last lap and a bit of this race now. It's fallen too far behind to do that, I suggest, unless Boyd makes a mistake or has a problem with the Eclipse, number 17. So they turn their way through Oggies towards Williams and back onto the Bentley Straight once again with this vain pursuit. Oh, and there's Gambling trying to go up the inside of Stuart Thompson. He's got his arm out the cockpit again, and this time he does get through. That might have been more in sort of indignation rather than anything else, but he has now wrestled his way past Stuart Thompson and back up inside the top 6. That's Martin Gambling in the number 99 Eclipse. This is Andy Hiley in the number 53 Kronos.
And he's the leader by some way over Paul Boyd. The earlier race he won by less than a second. He should win by more than that this time with just over a lap to go. So 2nd there, Boyd, 3rd, Collingwood. But Andy Hiley in front of them both. There he is. Now to Murray's with 1 further lap to go in this race. And it's been a great couple of seasons or so, hasn't it, for Andy Hiley since he's returned to Sports Specials won, I think, almost all the races last season. This year, not quite so many, but it's been a good end to the year, particularly here at Snetterton. He also won a race at Brown Patch, at Anglesey, at Cadbury Park, and at Donington Park. We haven't had 2 wins in one weekend yet, but I think that should change here.
That's slightly surprising, isn't it, really, that that's been the case. But it's been good for Andy Hiley, good couple of seasons, as you were saying. Once he sort of came back into it, he struggled a little bit with reliability initially, but that's been sorted out now, and obviously took the championship last year and has followed that up again with the title this year. There's Paul Boyd and Paul Collingwood just heading on to the Tyrrell Straight for the final time.
Paul Collingwood going even quicker, 2:03.6. Paul Boyd, I should say, 2:03.6. That's the quickest by some way that he's gone all day. So he's getting quicker and quicker all the time. So if Heidi hadn't increased his pace for this race, Boyd would be looking good. But just shows you, even over the course of the day, these drivers get quicker and quicker as they get more used to their cars. I don't think there was any Sports Specials drivers testing here on Friday. So I guess getting used to things as well over the course of the day. You don't get that many laps in really over a weekend at Snetterton, do you? Only about 20 or so because of the length of the lap. That's that right. Many laps you do almost in one session at Brands Hatch, for example.
Yeah, exactly. So there's the 53 car, Hiley coming through the bomb hole for final. Oh, and that's Stuart Thompson, and he has got off the. So that's at Agostini, isn't it? That's a long way off to go there.
Pretty impressive.
So I'm not quite sure how he's managed that, but I suspect there was perhaps a coming together, and we were just looking to see he was battling with Brian Chandler at the start of the lap, so maybe there was an issue with Brian Chandler there. But here comes Andy Hiley out of Morris for the final time. Checker flags made ready, and Andy Hiley's going to do the double this weekend in the Protech Shock Sports Specials Championship here at Snetterton, and he's confirmed as champion, of course. And it's going to be Paul Boyd that takes second place. There he is. Does he do another lap in the 2-minute 3s on the final lap? No, it's the lap in the 2-minute 4s. But with Andy Hiley actually on the last lap doing a 2-minute 2.90, reducing his own lap record. Paul Collingwood has taken third place in car number 11. Bit of a gap back then to the first of the 7-type cars, which is the Austin Greenway Elite Pulse. He comes over the line now in car number 41. And then it's going to be the next eclipse. That's Clive Hudson in 5th place. In the background, you can see Martin Gambling, number 99, is going to take 6th position. And he's going to be just ahead of the Brian Chandler Mev. That's going to finish in 7th place overall and win Class C. And then it's going to be Stuart Much moving up into 8th place with that off for Stuart Thompson on the final lap. So Much comes home in 8th place. Who is going to be 9th? It looks like it's going to be the Caterham, I think, of Adam Cottrell, number 80. So he wins Class B ahead of Colin Childs, number 13. Then it's going to be Stuart Thompson across the line in 11th place. And then it's Andrew Grant, who's got a 10-second penalty to be added to his time, although I don't think that's going to make too much difference because it's a long gap back then to Mickey Scott, number 58, who's going to take 13th position. 14th going the way of Andrew Hayward. 15th to Brad Snow, and then 16th is Warren Vesey, number 46. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th position, I think, in Class B, but I think probably still enough for the overall championship.
Class B championship.
The overall Class B championship, you say, just not the overall championship. That's gone to Andy Hiley. And then rounding out top 20, Darren Griffin, Nigel Brown, Gerald Donahue, and Justin Cox. So another fine Protech Shock Sports Specials race to end the sprint racing season for the 750 Riders Club. We've still got the 116 Trophy Enduro to go in a few moments' time. But we will have a look first, though, at the results of that race. So Andy Hiley, number 53, took the win. 6.61 seconds clear in the end with that blistering final lap of number 17, Paul Boyd. Number 17, Paul Boyd second. Third to number 11, Paul Collingwood. Fourth to number 41, Austin Greenway. Fifth, number 15, Clive Hudson. Sixth was number 99, that was Martin Gambling, again from the back of the grid. Class C winner was number 76, Brian Chandler from Stuart Much, number 7, and Adam Cottrell, number 80, 9th overall, winning Class B, ahead of number 13, Colin Childs. Stuart Thompson, after that off on the final lap, finished 11th. Mickey Scott was the third of the Class C cars. Andrew Grant, the second of the third of the Class B cars, ahead of Andrew Hayward, Brad Snow, Warren Vesey. Nigel Brown finished in 18th place, car number 10, and further back. Sylvia Much and Nigel Liddell on the final finishes. We lost David Barrow, Alan Robinson,
and Stephen Wells from that Protech Shock Sports Specials Championship race. So that was an excellent way to end the season for the Protech Shock Sports Specials Championship. 12-round championship with Andy Hiley taking the overall and the Class A title as well. And let's go down to the pit lane, and we'll perhaps hear from Andy Hiley for one final time this season. Down to Matt.
Thanks very much, Ian. Yep, down here with our race winner for the second time today, Andy Hiley, just having a quick chat with the other competitors. Andy, well done, 2 out and 2 here at Snetterton. That was another great race and a good push towards the end.
Yes, well, I could drive with a little bit less inhibition, couldn't I? So, because the championship was over, so towards the end I thought, well, last lap, why not? Oh, you know, try it. And I think did we get the fastest lap on the last lap or next to the last lap anyway?
You beat your record again, 2:02 you got down to.
Yeah, right, yeah, I saw it come up 2:02.9. I was chuffed with that, yeah.
So all in all, a perfect weekend, really. You've got Paul and Paul battling behind you, so that kind of gave you a little bit more gap. But as we said, really, really quick this weekend.
Yes, the car's working really well this weekend. I'm really happy with it. So yes, it was a fantastic weekend, perfect weekend for me.
And of course, this year you've taken a few wins, of course, as well along the way, which is always nice, and the championship to go with it as well. So it's been a perfect year, pretty much, and looking forward to next year now.
Yes, I am looking forward to next year, but I'd just like to say thank you for all the guys, all the marshals, all the scrutineers for sorting it out so we can go and have all that pleasure. So yeah, thank you guys.
And it's been another competitive year in terms of the grid. We've got some big numbers out there.
Yes, it's been good this year. Yeah, there's been good numbers, and as I said before, we've had quite a few variations of winners, so it spreads the love around, doesn't it?
Certainly does. Well done, Andy. Many congratulations to you. We've got the cars on the grid for the next race now, and I think it's a fairly big grid to get through as well. So we're going to hand you back to Ian and Josh for the final race of the day, which is the Gaz Shocks 116 Trophy.